And now it's my honor to introduce Johannes Schonberg. I met Johannes a couple of years ago when he was working with making Bremerton more vibrant. He was involved with bunker labs, and now I'm really excited about the possibilities that can happen in Kitsap with the Navy through the NavalX Tech Bridge.
Good afternoon. I'm really excited to be here. As Kathy mentioned, I've been part of the startup ecosystem for a long time. I used to support veterans as entrepreneurs on the other side of the water and there locally as the founder of Bunker Labs Northwest. And so Dave Parker, we've worked closely with Code Fellows and the work we've done. So I'm really excited to kind of be able to present sort of what the Navy's trying to do from this perspective. So actually the first slide. So I am the Director of Engagement for the Naval Undersea Warfare Center Keyport, which is just about 10 miles north of here. It's a pretty unique place, and I'll explain a little bit more in a bit. If you want to look me up, I'm on LinkedIn, Johannes Schonberg. And I want to explain the NavalX Northwest Tech Bridge initiative that we're running. So there's the government, and how does government interact and support non-traditional partners that we call them, but startup communities, small businesses, local partners. And so it's, we're actually working with Steve Blank, who's what we call sort of the godfather of the startup community, the lean startup methodology. He's a really prominent figure. So we actually are working closely with Steve Blank to create a whole new set of what we call innovation pipelines to help direct our engagement with the startup community, the venture capital through different programs that we have, like Small Business Investment Research Dollars, SBIRs. And we're going through a whole transition to help support these communities much more effectively. And let me explain why. So Keyport may be small, but it's 2,500 employees, like I said, north of here. And it's actually part of the Navy's research and development community, which is a much larger entity. It's one of 16 warfare centers. It's part of a $20 billion Department of the Navy annual spend on research and development. Thousands of PhDs, engineers, and scientists that are part of this. All kinds of very specific equipment and very expensive equipment. It's also available for industry to use through agreements that we have. Responsible for a lot of the technology transfer that happens inside and outside of the Department of the Navy, which includes the Marine Corps. And then, of course, the SBIR program. So the Department of the Navy has $360 million that goes to small businesses each year to provide solutions for prototypes for solutions that we need to get. And what's unique about Keyport and these warfare centers that you don't get from, say, Puget Sound Naval Shipyard or Bangor, is that it's a federal lab. It's part of the Navy's research, the national sort of research and development community. And we have special authorities to engage with small business and industry and academia that the rest of the bases around here don't have. And so Keyport is that access point to the Navy's research and development community, which I think is really important and needs to be shared. I was really excited when I found this, kind of from the startup perspective. So each of those warfare centers, each of those 16 warfare centers has a whole subset of detachments around the globe. We're a global enterprise. Keyport alone has detachments all over the Pacific, as well as the continental United States, as well as reach into all of the other warfare centers and the needs of the fleet and the Marine Corps. So we have a global presence. A little bit of the history. So it was established as a naval activity in 1914. It's been here a very long time. Focused on torpedoes, torpedo development, test ranges all over the Pacific Northwest. And so there was some salvage, but Keyport has evolved significantly since 1914. And Keyport today, we have tremendous focus on undersea warfare, but that includes undersea unmanned vehicles and the technology that goes with it. So there's a lot of drones, drone technology, the ability to stay underwater or at sea for a long period of time. Warfighting readiness, which is about sustainment technologies, which is a whole different bucket. How do you keep ships, aircraft, and submarines at sea longer and keep them maintained and operating? Advanced digital environment, so augmented reality, virtual reality. How do you get better training for the workers out in the shipyard or all across warfighters across the fleet? And then cyber. And so Keyport has this interesting role in helping operationalize technology so we can take prototypes and put them in water. And so if you're a startup, if you're a small business that's working on drone technology, there are ranges that we can work together to provide very precise testing and evaluation and feedback, scientists and engineers. So there's quite a bit of ability to work directly with warfighters and with our customers to be able to rapidly iterate, which is really important as you're trying to get quick feedback on your product and move fast. And why are we doing this? Well, the research and development community is huge. There's a lot that goes with it, but it's slow. There's a lot that, it's a big organization. It takes a long time. SBRs traditionally can take months, if not a year, to get a phase one, unfortunately. And so there's a really big drive to sort of to update that. And the reason we have a challenge, you can't read this, but really the bottom line is we risk losing our technological edge against our potential adversaries that are out there. If you read the National Defense Strategy by General Mattis, which we still follow, previous Secretary of Defense, we have very specific concerns globally with other countries that are rapidly gaining technologically. So we have to learn to be agile and adapt quickly and be able to identify and accept and transition those technologies and sustain them quickly into the fleet, into the warfighters' hands. And so to go after this, our Assistant Secretary of the Navy, Mr. Gertz, he's third in line, third top civilian in the Navy. He's responsible for all the acquisition in the entire Navy. He stood up, which includes the Marine Corps. He actually stood up this team called NavalX back in February. And the purpose of NavalX is to help create this mission-ready Department of the Navy with a pivot-ready workforce. And that's through these agile networks, these agile tools, these methodologies, taking best practices, standardizing, codifying them, and sharing them across internally all these different organizations so we can rapidly scale the agility in the organization. It's not just siloed. And then there's another component to it, which is the external component. So how do we better engage with what we call non-traditional partners? And it's through this tech bridge is our proposal, is our hypothesis. And so we're starting with this idea that we want to create this national network of regional innovation hubs, leveraging our warfare centers. The warfare centers having these special authorities to work with industry, academia, that the other bases don't have. Plus, we have the scientists and engineers and the expertise and the equipment to be able to rapidly iterate on technology. So this idea for Tech Bridge is becoming this coordination element, allowing for greater collaboration, transparency, and resiliency. We have many different programs, often siloed. SBIR program can be by itself, Small Business Investment Research Dollars. The Office of Navy Small Business can be by itself, and then the PTAC. We're working to try to bring those together and stack those resources in a way that presents a smoother user interface for our customers or our partners, the non-traditional partners, so we can increase the speed through which we're getting technology from industry back into the force. So if that makes sense, the goal of Tech Bridge Northwest is creating is kind of four key things. One is providing a amazing space. We want to have outside the fence, a space that we can actually all come together, whether it be academia, our scientists and engineers, our partners with the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, supported by PTAC, SBDC, our Office of Small Business. So we want to have this space where we can come together and actually be able to iterate quickly without having to take 6 months to get through pass an ID, just so you can have the first conversation. I know, many of you are familiar with that. Collaboration with Navy technologists and facilities, not just at Keyport, but we have expertise all across the country, these thousands of researchers and scientists, plus our partnerships with universities. It's a large network. And then, of course, these programs that we support small business with. So we're running through an entire new SBIR program starting in January, Small Business Investment Research, particularly focused on sustainment technologies. And it's going to have Steve Blank's company, he's a board member of, called BM&T, will actually be helping the company selected for SBIR through a sort of lean startup process, accelerator of sorts, to actually be able to help these companies be successful. So it's not just here, have a check, good luck, and then they fall out when they try to apply for the next round, or phase 2 we call it. So we're really trying to figure out and redesign these programs so that they support the small business that are applying for them and make them successful, and ultimately improving partnerships with our non-traditional partners. So what does this look like? Here's the vision. So there's an organization in Tampa called Softworks. It's the Special Operations Command facility that's outside their gate in Tampa, Florida. And it's a place where you have low barriers to access. You have the contracting officers that come and support. Small business comes in. It's a place where you have the social events. You're bringing people together. It's a place in the community to gather. It's a place for co-working. It's a place for supporting labs and light R&D in this collaboration to be able to quickly experiment, iterate, get feedback, and then be able to design your next phase. So it's a really important aspect, I think, of being able to access what we have to offer as the Navy and being able to provide solutions quickly and get that feedback quickly, so you're not waiting for 6 months to get to the base just to find out your solution is not actually what we need. So right now, we've got a fast-growing team. This Tech Bridge initiative was launched formally about a month and a half ago. Right now, we've got Office of Naval Research, which is working in partnership with Steve Blank, together with here locally. It is Keyport, Washington, that is the Tech Bridge Northwest. There are 5 other tech bridges around the country that were initially identified. So San Diego, Newport, Rhode Island. There's Crane, Indiana in the Midwest, and then Orlando down the Southeast. And together we have a partnership with our manufacturing extension partner, if you've heard of Impact Washington, providing sort of the power and the expertise to run with this idea, which we will be supporting strongly, together with the Washington Military Alliance. Thank you, KEDA and Kathy for all the work you've done in supporting us. And Maritime Blue, obviously a huge initiative across the state in the developing new technologies, working with startups. They're about to launch their first cohort accelerator for maritime technologies over in Seattle with WeWork. So that's exciting to see that and be able to plug in. And then, of course, the National Manufacturing Extension Partnership. Then we have potential collaborators working with the universities, working with the local labs, and of course, anyone else, if you want to reach out, please do. LinkedIn or follow up with me afterwards. Happy to talk. Then I'll wrap it up. So any questions?
Been working with DIUX.
Yes, so they actually changed their name to DIU, Defense Innovation Unit. They dropped the X because they're no longer experimental, but we do work with them. There's particularly in some AR, VR perspectives, and so we've been in conversation with them, particularly geared towards some of our technology, sustainment technologies focus. How do we get VR goggles for shipyard workers to help accelerate their training pipeline? And so DIU has been working with small startups down in large companies down in San Francisco and Silicon Valley region to help accelerate that effort. Any particular?
What do you see as the areas that will most likely be engaged first?
Locally, some of the key things that we have to work on are figuring out new technologies for our ranges, around sensors for the ranges. And so that's definitely one of the key areas that our CTO has identified. Some of the other things that we're working on, there's a lot of sustainment technologies that the new SBIR topic, which Kathy will be able to help everyone with as our PTAC representative, are focused around AR, VR. There's actually quite a wide spectrum of technologies that we're interested in, so it won't be necessarily just torpedoes. It's going to be a wide spectrum of cyber and stuff like that. And that's really a key message I want you to take away is Keyport is much more than torpedoes. And plus we are also tackling problems across the fleet as a whole and working with other warfare centers and getting support back and forth. There's a robust communications network behind the scenes. So there's a wide swath of technology. It's kind of hard to narrow it down specifically, but definitely range technologies and sensors will be a key one. Sustainment technologies, AR, VR, and how they apply to that, cold spray technologies. So that'll be coming out more towards January, February.
Where will you set up your local meeting place with the community?
Yep. So we still are working with the manufacturing extension partner to identify that location. So we haven't. Our initial kind of it makes a lot of sense to place it here in Bremerton because the proximity to the largest kind of naval employee base, and it's central, easier to access Seattle, which is in our thinking as well. And still close enough to Bangor and Keyport for fairly easy access. Please.